We can try jamming it from the first riff if you want.
Yeah, go on then. Do you want to record me in as well?
Yeah, I'm going to record now.
One.
Four bars.
Four
Two.
bars and a
Three.
1 and a 2 and a you know what to do. What's up everyone, it's Mike, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be working on some really cool stuff. I'm in Riff Hard Studio B, where I'm working on Monument's album 4 with Browne, who's just through that room in there. We're doing some pre-production on the drums, we're writing together, and we've got a really cool thing where we're breaking out between rooms. I wanted to come along with my drum kit and minimize the faff, bring a rig where I've got a mix pre-made, and we can just focus more on playing music and a bit less on all the finicky stuff that comes from a multi-mic drum setup. So let's have a look at all the detail that's going on here. So why go for this kind of a setup? Well, the three main benefits are, number one, I'm making this drum kit as easy to work with for Browne as just plugging in a guitar pedal. Because we're in a separate room, the drums just sound good and he's just working with it immediately. No problem there. And the best part about that is he doesn't have to mess around with getting any tones, working on the individual multi-mic or anything. He can just get on with it. And the reason I want to share this with you today is that you can make this work with any kind of situation that you're in. You don't need to hire an expensive studio because you're making everything as simple as possible on your end, as long as you've got two separate rooms, one where you can be loud in and another kind of control roomy environment. Wherever you can run lines between, you're then basically able to make your own setup work. And that's a big part of what I want to do helping you through this channel, is to show drummers how to do this stuff a bit more DIY in order to make things happen productively in your own time. So here's what we're going to be chatting about. First off, we're going to be looking at the microphones and the gear that we're using. Specifically the Antelope audio equipment that's enabling this entire thing, and our microphone choices. Then I'm going to be showing you all of the different effects that exist within my interface, which we're using as the secret weapon to build a wicked mix, and some wicked plugins, so you're definitely going to want to check that out. I'll then talk a bit about the signal path and the routing, so you can see how this all actually comes together, and also in that I'll be looking at how the other guitarist is sending and routing the send and return, so that we're having that back and forth communication really easily. And then a bit of us just playing together and coming up with ideas on the spot and kind of challenging each other in a bit of a co-playing writing situation.
Mike, get fucked.
Or just kind of rehearsing and jamming some ideas to tighten up and just enjoy playing together. So with all that said, let's just jump into it and have a look at the gear we're using here. This is an Antelope Orion Studio Synergy Core. Now this is an absolutely fantastic device because it has so much flexibility with its routing. Anything that comes in can go out, whether it's from the Windows or Mac world of audio, or it's the ASIO DAW world of audio. It can just all fly in any which way it wants. This means that any input or output is recordable, super useful for streaming as well, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a video you can check out right here. So this version of the Orion Studio Synergy Core has 12 preamps on it, which is great, but it's not quite enough. So I'm expanding that with a Focusrite Octo Pre Mark II, mainly just as it's a budget option and it sounds really good. Now the magic of all of this is that I'm able to make all of this process work with a pretty underpowered computer. What I've got here is a Surface Pro 3. Now this is generations behind the current line of Microsoft Surface tablets. But originally I bought it so that I had something I could do my charts with, but mainly it's just there so I can have it on the side of the kit and just swipe through my charts and edit them with the little pen that it has. And I was amazed when I realized that I could use this as an actual pre-production rig and avoid all the issues I have of not being able to run many instances of cool and complex plugins that sound great, but using this means that we can just get away from all of that and work with it like a tape machine, putting all of the hard work inside the Antelope. I've been wanting to do this for ages because it's got some really great sounding effects, and that's the key part. We've got great plugins from SSL, we've got some kind of Fairchild sounding stuff, lots of cool mic preamp emulations. You've even got like auto-tune synergy in there and guitar amps, so it's really useful for that. So for pre-production, you don't need as many mics as I'm working with here, but because I'm in such a cool space here at Riff Hard Studio B, and we've got quite a cool choice of some of Browne's mic locker and my own stuff, we're capturing the room in a quite nice way, but you don't need this many mics per source. You can make this work with less. You could probably even get away with just having a pair of overheads and a kick and a snare and just making that work for you. So what I've got going on in this rig is very similar to what I have in my own studio tour, which I want to make an updated version of soon. The current version you can check out here. Most of the mics are the same, the Beta 91 on the kick in. One of the new mics here is one of Browne's mics, which is a Lewitt DTP 640 Rex, which is sounding so sweet. The top end on it sounding so much better than most kick out mics I would ever use. It's warm, it's beautiful, so I probably want to be getting myself one of these. I've also made myself a new kick sub mic, which I had to make on the fly because my one broke. I went and bought a practice amp for a tenner and rewired it as a sub mic and just cut off the gauze off the front because that eats a lot of energy. So it's literally just a £10 secondhand practice amp. It works perfectly for kick subs. You don't need to go and buy a crazy subwoofer to capture your low end there. The snare is all the same as it was before. We've got a Beyerdynamic M201 NC, and that's working with the crash guard on the top. We've got the Sennheiser MD421 on the bottom, the same Beyerdynamic M201 NCs on the toms, and my Audio-Technica ATM250DE, just using the dynamic capsule on that because the condenser has too much bleed for these guys here. And here's a floor tom sub microphone as well that I was using to capture the low end of the tom a bit nicer. The overheads are the same. They're my favorite Aston Starlights running in hybrid mode. This room's a bit bright, so I probably should have worked with them in dark mode, but the mix is built, we'll just stick with it. My room at home where I built this mix is a lot darker, but we've made it work. We've just done a bit of shelving here and there, and it works quite nicely. So what we've got on room, which is really nice, are the Lewitt 440 Pures. Now we've pointed them at kind of the upper corner of the ceiling above all of the treatments, so we're capturing lots of nice, dark, energetic build-up in those corners, while trying to maintain a kind of a stereo image. We've got their nulls facing the kit, so we're making them feel bigger than they actually are. And we've also got a little chamber mic, which is just in this vocal booth over here, which is a Jay-Z Microphones Amethyst microphone. And that's just facing a bit of glass to get some extra reflections in an otherwise quite dead room. And that's adding a real nice squash and like a mono room that you can make use of. So yeah, we've got all these mics running into my Diodario Stagebox system, the modular snake system. I really recommend that if you're getting this Orion because everything in D-Sub world works really nicely, and it's great to just be able to have all your mics come to a central point and take a couple of snakes away. It's really, really good for that. We're not in a huge space, but we're getting a pretty huge sound out of what we've got. And we can have a look at some of the plugins that are actually making this all sound so nice here. So let's have a look in here and I'll show you what I've got going on. So when I was building this mix, I was just tracking into Cubase and just basically having an open drum sound that would then run back into the AFX line. So I could treat it like a silent sound check where I record audio raw and then bring each line through each AFX channel, which is like an 8 FX rack. Each channel can then have as many effects as you want on it. There are a few FX channel limitations where you can run into a limit of instances, but you have to go pretty hard for that, and there's lots of options, so you're never in too much of a problem with that. So I'll start off by showing you what that looks like. In here in my Cubase project, while this also has this pre-mixed stereo line here at the top, what I'm actually going to focus on here is all of these, which are the raw audios. And these lines just have some very basic panning on them, as you can see here. Just hard panning the overheads and the rooms. I haven't even bothered about moving the toms about because it's just not important. We're not doing a multi-mic mix inside Cubase. The computer's not good enough for it, but that's fine. That's what the Antelope's for. So yeah, let's have a quick channel by channel listen, and then we'll go through how the AFX is making that sound better. So here's the kick in. So it's a pretty simple sound. It does the job. It's a bit honky, but we tidy it up later. This is that Lewitt kick out mic I mentioned before. That bottom end is so nice. And this is the sub. It's not the best, but you can filter it and work with it and make it happen. As I say, it's a cheap mic. Here's those snares I was talking about. The phasing has been done at the preamp stage. Simple enough, right? Here's those tom lines, just the top mics without the floor tom sub mic, which I forgot to mention earlier. It's just like another sub kick, a speaker sitting at the bottom. And then that floor tom with its sub is right here. That really helps get the motions going. We've also got some spot mics, but the key is in these overheads sounding really nice and phase balanced. Great sounding. And then our rooms. They're a little on the hot side, but we cut them down later. And then here's that chamber. So loads of room to squeeze that about. So in the Antelope, there are 4 different mixes. And in this one, this is the actual drum kit mix, where we've got all the AFX lines going straight into this mixer. I've done a little bit of rerouting where I'm not using my lines directly. Channel 1 becomes the final channel 1 because I want to patch my important microphones into the Antelope and the less important mics like some rooms into the Octopre. So the patch list is a bit backwards, but all that matters is that in the Antelope, it's all kind of coming together to make sense in a mixing perspective rather than having your floor tom sub being later than your floor tom, which is how it currently is. So there's a bit of rerouting there. Doesn't really matter. You can treat it however you want, digital patch to your heart's content. So I'm not going to go ahead and reroute all of the audio from the Cubase like I did, where I then do a digital sound check. I'm just going to show you what those channels sound like through the AFX live. So I'll play them and you can hear them yourself. So here's the AFX rack here. And you can see this is the channel numbers here correspond to which rack we're on. And I can just kind of remember which ones these are. So on the kick in, we've got a noise gate going into a Neve style EQ, into a Neve style preamp emulation. I think that was because I wanted to focus on the top end being glistened by the preamp more than having the low end kind of sucking all the energy out of what the preamp emulation can give us. And then going into an SSL 4K E Browne emulation into a distressor for dynamic control. And this is what that sounds like. So yeah, lots of great top end on that, and it's working really well. So the kick out, similar situation. I think I'm focusing a little bit more on low end and beefiness, really working the sub on this. The difference here was I discovered the SSL strip, the dynamic strip is separate, and that's the expander gate on it is just so good. Really recommend working with it. So that's going into a filter, which then runs into a preamp. Again, we're softening some of the sub before we hit the preamp. It really helps to beef it out. And then that just goes into an EQ, no dynamics, just sounds great. There is a little bit of a knock coming from the gate there that I think just needs to be tweaked. It might just be a cable that's come loose, but that's fine. It works. We're in pre-prod mode, you know, we're not going too crazy. Then we've got a sub mic. So this one's a very similar channel strip. It's just running through a bit of a filter to just have the low end. This EQ is helping to filter out even more, and then that's being run through the distressor to really nicely capture it. That sounds wicked. The 3 kicks together. So it's pretty great for a mix in the box and not having to deal with anything in the DAW. So here's what's going on the snare top. Nothing too crazy, just again, dynamics and EQs and compression. Without the verb, here's what it sounds like. Nice and out of tune. And then our bottom. You can see the kind of things that we're using here. You know, all the decisions that have been made here are pretty typical. We've got lots of dynamic control, lots of tonal dynamics and EQ. It's all really good stuff. The tom line is the same for all 3 toms, which is just preamp into dynamics, into EQ, into compression. Works really well, not too much bleed. So that works great. Hats and ride are the normal kind of thing of just filtering out. You know what you're doing with them. For the overheads, I've got a really simple thing going on. Just preamp emulation, going into an EQ, going into a distressor, and this is all stereo linked, which was really easy to set up as long as you're on an odd even channel rating. Works really well. I mean, the room is really bright, so we're getting a lot of nice room, but they sound great. Again, I dialed these in a darker room and it's translated really nicely, so I'm happy with that. I didn't want to get too crazy about that. And then the chamber and room mics are just a bit of normal squeeze and filtering, just nice stuff going on there. Got a little bit of a line going on the talkback mic as well, which is just, you know, a bit of compression, but again, screw working with noise gates, just have a switched mic, you're good to go, so you can turn that on and off when you want to get some communication going, and you're golden there. So that's all of the main channels there. What we've also got going on is a bit of a snare parallel compression. Now we have some limitations with this because we've only got so many mixers. You can't just go throwing sends around however you'd like you can do in a DAW. So what we've got is the channel of the snare top is just going to both AFX 4, the snare top, but also at the end of the chain to AFX 18 over here. So we just go over to the next part of the rack and it's here. So we've got like another snare parallel compression channel here, which is, I like to work with two channels and do different things with them to get different parts of the sound out. So here's what 18, that parallel sideline sounds like. So it's really all about just a bit of extra energy. When you glue that in with the snare top on its own, that's channel 4. Without the parallel compression. And with it. Yeah, it really does help. I would probably tweak it a bit more, but you know, it works. It does the job. And then this whole thing is then routed out from that. This is all very complex, but basically the inputs of that mixer is here. This is mixer 1, and it's going into another rack here at the end, 31 and 32. The reason for that is I wanted to put some master bus compression on that, tidy the whole thing up, but I wanted it to be parallel. So I found this, which is just an SSL bus compressor, and it has a mix knob on it. So this is how it sounds without any of that. And then with it on, so it's about 60%. It just helps us get there. And then that output is now what goes to my ears, to Browne's rig, and everything else. So this is the sound. It's got a bit of parallel compression on it and a couple of ways. It's bus compressed, but it's still a bit natural. So it's perfect. It's good to go. This is like our big output that we can run with. So what I'm doing from there is that then this is my mixer. Mixer 2 is for my ears. So here I've got, these are the drums. I've also got a talkback channel here. When you cut that in, that's what it sounds like. So yeah, this is just what I use when I'm chatting to Browne. What do you want me to do then?
What you want, what you want.
Turn that off and I'll play. Obviously now you're hearing the shotgun mic for the video, but that helps him not have constant hideous feedback. So switched mic for the win. So that's that channel, that's my drums. These are all my Windows lines. I'll talk more about that in my streaming audio video. You can send different programs to different channels. Super useful for like Discord and Zoom. You can check that out in the other video. But here I've got a mix from Cubase. This is my main mix. It has my metronome and stuff. Cubase also, I have a Q mix which doesn't have any click, and that's what I'm sending to Browne. So if I'm jamming the click, he's just hearing the music. Cubase as a DAW has, as a control room, it has separate mixes you can send around the place. It's great for having someone else getting their own mix. Really recommend using that function. And here, currently disconnected, we're about to reconnect it, is Browne's line. So that's coming in on my ADAT input 7 and 8 into the back of my Octobri. So I just listen directly to that. We'll connect that up in just a second. And here is Browne's mix on mixer 3. So he's getting my drums, my talkback mic, he's getting channels 11 and 12, which is that Cubase Q mix. This is some of the drums from that. So you can see that Browne's getting an output here that's different. So if I throw the click on, this is the mix without it. And that's the mix with it. That's what I'm hearing. So that helps, and he's doing a similar thing with me, sending me a mix that's better for me without metronome if I need it. But he can also send me the click if he wants. Yay, Cubase. The most important thing about this mix and having a separate mixer, just like when you're dealing with Discord or with Zoom or whatever, is that you have to not send the person's own audio feed back to them. So that's why he stays muted here. In fact, I haven't even connected those channels 7 and 8 because if I do that, he's going to get a feedback loop. There's a fourth mixer, and the mixer 4 is for the Porter & Davis, which is a BC Gigster. It's a tactile monitor that is this stool, and that just sends my kick drum, snare, and toms directly to my butt, which makes me feel like I'm playing on a stadium. It really tightens my playing up. Really recommend checking out these BC2 systems or BC Gigsters by Porter & Davis. Transform your monitoring for real, especially on electric kits as well. It's phenomenal. And basically, yeah, I just send mixer 3 out of a couple of physical outputs. We're going to go ahead and connect that back up through a couple of lines between the rooms, and he just sends me a couple of jacks back into my input, and then we've got communication going. So let's get that together and have a bit of a play with him. What do you want to jam first?
Do you want to do the start of that Swan?
Of that Swan track, the new one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fuck it, but why not? All right. With project or just us on our own?
I can just jam it quickly with a click if you want.
Leave the click off. We got this.
Okay then, off you pop then.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, that's it. That wasn't bad for a first go.
No, we can go then. Do you want a click?
Fuck it, yeah. Do you want to just play along with the project but just mute the drums? That'd be really fun.
I don't know the third riff.
I just mean that first riff.
Yeah, we could do the first riff if you want.
Why not? Just because it's fun to play with the bass and everything.
Alright, shall I record your drums?
Just
that first riff, or do you want to do the first and second riff?
I thought you didn't know the second riff.
I know the second riff, but I don't know the third one.
I don't know the second riff. Oh, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got it good enough. Okay. All right, ready when you are. Give me like 2 bars counting if that's all right.
Yeah, there you go. Added 2 bars to it.
Well done. I'm congratulating you right now. Well done.
2 bars, you say?
I love not having to deal with the DAW. Yes, please, sir. Thank you.
All right, okay then. So you're going to get 4 bars.
Am I now?
Yeah. Here you go.
Let's do it. That riff, yeah, we're not ready to jam that yet, are we?
No, it's...
Isn't it? Bum-ba-da-ba-da on the next one?
Yeah, it is, yeah, but I fucked it.
Yeah.
And then it's... No, it's not that, is it?
No, the da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, I know what it is. It's
Yes.
this. That's what it is.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's simple, yeah, isn't it? Oh, doesn't it do the...
Oh, right, yeah, it's that bit. Fuck, yeah.
You're doing the ending there.
Okay, so that goes like, yeah.
banjo kazooie over here.
Then it goes, sorry.
Sorry?
That's what it is.
Yeah, just like that.
That's what it is.
Yeah, now I'm going to give you polyrhythms over it.
I gotta stop doing these stupid fucking variations of everything because I can never remember which one's which.
Please don't. I do love it.
Do you want to go from the start then?
Do you not want to just do that riff in single?
Yeah, okay, let's just do it with that in isolation. Go on.
Yeah. Oh, someone's got a notification.
Yeah.
Right, ready?
Yeah, go on.
I don't remember the next one.
Yeah, no, let's just keep going that riff because I keep fucking it.
Yeah, it works really well with the mini stack as the closed hat.
Yeah, do it.
Right, 1, 2.
Time because I've almost got it. The action on this guitar, I really need to go and get it set up.
Okay. One more and then mess around with something else.
Yeah, we can do one more and then we can play it to the click.
Yes. Here we go. 1 and a 2 and a you know what to do.
Let me just try that bit quickly. So it goes. He's
having fun. He's having so much fun.
Okay, right, yeah, let's do it.
All right, ready? 1, 2.
Almost.
There's me fucking you over.
Yeah, you did, but we can try jamming it from the first riff if you want.
Yeah, go on then. Do you want to record me in as well?
Yeah, I'm going to record now. 4 bars.
4 fucking bars. And a 1 and a 2 and a you know what to do. My snare wires have broken.
Have they?
They have. It's time for me to change snare drums. Oh well, it happens. So hopefully now you can see how this particular use of equipment and routing can enable you as a self-recording and producing drummer to actually make your own content and work with other musicians, collaborating more easily and basically being able to exist in a digital world with the simplicity that a lot of musicians like guitarists I think take for granted with how easy they've got it. Hopefully you can see how this equipment makes it so much easier to be a part of that. There's a fair bit of work involved in setting it up, but once you understand it, you'll find that you get better as a drummer knowing how all the miking works and how everything is happening. You'll really feel a bit more in control when you do come into the studio. And that will just give you an edge over how you get your stuff done and make you feel more confident in the process. I hope you enjoyed the content today. If you did, please consider throwing a like and a subscribe down. It really helps to help build the channel. I want to do lots more of this and I want to grow the community and really bring lots of more budding musicians, drummers and guitarists in together and help them develop their relationships and work together better. You can also check me out. I've got a Discord community where I'm hanging out and we're talking music and production and drumming stuff, but also gaming and having some fun and just discussing things that we enjoy. Please do come along in there. We'd love to have you involved. You can also see me on Twitch. I stream regularly on there and sometimes make a lot of my YouTube content on that platform. So you can kind of be part of it as it happens. I do some live session work and stuff on there. So definitely come check me out there. Thank you so much and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a great day.